2 years after the Cenozoic survival war, Kester's resounding victory still echoes. Armed with the power of truth, Kester triumphed over the formidable game, Cenozoic survival, and its schemer Skiwi, along with his loyal staff. In the wake of their collapse, the remnants of Cenozoic survival have rebranded as Ecos La Brea, with the aid and funding from the Paleo Cabal, such as the Knights of Iguana. Ecos La Brea now thrives as a formidable proxy of the Paleo Matrix. Skiwi's devastating defeat and his conspiracy with Cenozoic survival brought him crushing shame. Betrayed by his former friends who all turned to support his nemesis, Kester, Skiwi was left utterly lonely, with only the loyal Paleo Cabal still by his side. Following his triumphant victory with the truth, Kester lurked into the shadows, hiding under the alias. Under this guise, he blends seamlessly into gate-kept part of the Paleo community. With such obvious name, yet he remained undetectable to the Cabal's eyes. Embracing his double life, he forms bonds with new allies, only for the Knights of Iguana, led by Skiwi's ruthless new enforcers, to expel them in a brutal purge. Haunted by past misdeeds and enraged by the purge and the dysfunctional state of the Paleo community, he braces for the inevitable assault from the Paleo Cabal. He vows to face his reckoning and reshape the world, wielding paleontological secrets to defy the Knights of Iguana and put an end to the regime of the Paleo Cabal. Will Kester tank, save Dinosauria, and reclaim paleontology?
Hi, I'm Kester Tank. I am an Paleoartist. I've made skeletals as well, 3D model making, and for the past 10 years, I've been immersed in the paleontology and natural history community. Today, I'm addressing a critical issue going on the field, as it is deeply divided, increasingly dysfunctional, and, in many ways, hindering scientific progress. Some label this behavior as toxic, but I find that term too vague, and normally used to dismay critique even when it seems harsh, is essential for science to thrive. One major reason is a significant knowledge gap in this field. I see a lot of you struggle to understand the field of paleontology, as it seems everyone is illiterate in this science. This isn't meant to offend anyone. I know many of you can relate to feeling others seem to be overwhelmed or less confident in your grasp of the science. This barrier to understanding fuels division and stalls progress, but it's something we can address together. An example of this is that I see a lot of people go by something like Tyrannosaurus enthusiast, yet try to be enthusiastic as possible, somehow cannot understand simple facts about that dinosaur, like asking them the catalog number of Sioux, or what unique characteristics is seen as to other tyrannosaurs or other theropod dinosaurs in general. And it doesn't have to be about Tyrannosaurus, just mostly non-avian dinosaurs and other Mesozoic reptiles. And they tend to respond awful too often because they searched it on quick Google searches, sensational YouTube videos, and articles instead of diving into primary sources. And their general knowledge consists of them primarily getting from playing mediocre dinosaur survival games and staring at a Dan Folks's skeletal reconstruction to see how big or heavy that animal would have been. This isn't meant to be ashamed of, and most of the cases is not their fault. I mean, they don't know anything better, but I've seen so many cases how they act, and I've coined a term for them, as I've made a previous video about this phenomenon. I swear most of them sounded like this in my experience on educating others on the field.
Is that the biggest is it ID products the biggest eagles ever? Perhaps the biggest dinosaur? Well, there was in the new video about the new described Roblox megatheropod. That which comes from a fragmentary piece. That I don't know which part of the megatheropod dick bone estimated to be 20 meters long and 50 tons big. Making the biggest megatheropod ever existed, bigger than the Giganotosaurus.
And looking at surface level of this field is mostly flooded with unproductive debates, outdated, unreliable sources, and even AI-generated content, so overall misinformation slop, which overshadows the deeper, more critical aspects of paleontology. Because many struggle with the basics, like understanding anatomy, ecology, geography, or evaluating primary sources, which are all being filtered. So, most people, as I mentioned, resort to things that oversimplify or distort the science. This is controversial, but go ahead, call me schizo for that. But I genuinely believe that the field of paleontology is being gatekept by a cabal of academic elites within the community. To be clear, not everyone in the academic intellectual side of paleontology is bad. There are many researchers and artists doing incredible work. Their discoveries and dedication are vital to our understanding of prehistoric life. However, some individuals within this sphere have been deeply unwelcoming, even outright hostile, and others I know within the field are dissatisfied with how it's currently managed. Here's the 4 reasons why I think paleontology is being gatekept, and for the worse,
1.
Paleontology is very popular to the public and media, but the field is niche. Despite paleontology is also one of the most high profile of the sciences in the amount of attention in mass media and fascination to the public, having one of the highest grossing movie franchise, Jurassic Park, which also lead its popularization and revolutionize of this field, although the attention is mostly centered about the Mesozoic era, especially the Jurassic and the Cretaceous period, as it features most dinosaurs. So, in general, tend to be smaller. You would not see a lot of people invested in the Paleozoic or the Cenozoic era, although a lot of people are ambitiously and curious into the field, regardless what they prefer.
2.
Paleontology hasn't successfully entered the mainstream in a meaningful or accurate way. Despite Jurassic Park's success, which brought dinosaurs into the public eye further, it also left a long-lasting, outdated impression on dinosaurs look like, causing other media to have such resemblance to the franchise's design. Not only that the science communication to the public was poor and oversimplified, another example is that documentaries took decades to have up-to-date depictions of prehistoric animals. It is true that field of paleontology is underfunded. Despite all that, enormous major discoveries have been booming since the 21st century. Even if the Paleo Cabal pushes scientific accuracy, although in an incomplete way, it is only recently we have media depicting dinosaurs more akin the current understanding when it's intended to depict the best possible or creative liberties.
3.
The community is dominated by a tight-knit cabal with heavy nepotism. From my experience, the paleontology scene online and even parts of the academic world are controlled by the same people or their close associates running various sub-communities, moderation teams, or other paleo-related projects like games, documentaries, or any other form of media or entertainment. This cabal tends to promote its own members, granting visibility, roles, and opportunities based more on social ties than actual merit. Even those who follow the rules are often excluded, silenced, or even attacked simply because they don't like them, as they might question the status quo. This creates an environment where nepotism thrives. Artists, influencers, and science communicators rise to prominence not because of the quality or value of their work, but favoritism and the fact they share the same views, which leads to echo chambers and mass gossip. Even the spread of paleontology is limited by this structure. While these communities often claim to be public, many of them are closed, tightly moderated spaces with limited accessibility. Now, for our example, take a look at these resource Discord servers as to major dinosaur game servers. Let's assume small fraction, between a tenth or, being generous here, half are interested in paleontology, and do the calculations now. This is the real gatekeeping problem, not just about moderating content, but about controlling who gets to speak, learn, or participate in the broader discussion. And in doing so, they've turned what should be a public science into a private club.
4.
The field is taken over by a dogmatic political agenda. The paleontology community is overwhelmingly filled with progressive or far-left propaganda, and individuals are majority openly left-wingers. Science should be neutral, unbiased, bipartisan, prioritize facts, evidence, and open debate. However, many academic and online paleontology spaces emphasize ideological conformity over scientific curiosity. Discussions often shift to political or cultural narratives rather than focusing on prehistoric life. Those who don't align with the dominant worldview often face exclusion, silencing, labeled as problematic, and even get harassed by them. This creates a chilling effect where even respectful disagreement is seen as a threat. Not to science, but to the social or ideological norms enforced by a small circle. At its worst, this climate makes paleontology feel less about studying prehistoric life and more about adhering to a political identity, risking the field's openness, accessibility, and scientific integrity by limiting diverse perspectives and evidence-based inquiry. And to save paleontology from academic corruption, we have 7 steps.
Expose the gatekeeper and elitist, drain the swamp, starve the cabal's conquest, promote the underdogs, deprogram the peejits, reignite the wonder of natural history, and reclaim the field before it's too late. If this keeps getting worse, the paleo community is going to collapse. The dumb get dumber because trying to find real information is like wading through a polluted swamp of clickbait, sensationalist misinformation, diarrhea, slop, every shithole. The academic elite are isolating themselves in a bubble, obsessed with control and their ideology over real science. Meanwhile, the masses get flooded with sensational garbage. This schism consists of a cult of midwit intellectuals as to the horde, with service-level content in which threatens the future of this field.
Here's a breakdown of the hierarchy of the paleo community, which is led by a nepotistic cabal that operates as a leftist hive mind unable to reason. Alright, let's start. Bottom tier, peejits, and everyone else. As mentioned in our previous video, this group consists of mass estimate obsessed megatheropod and maybe large herbivorous dinosaur fanboys. They reduce paleontology to size charts, bite force debates, and endless animal versus animal fight scenarios. These individuals treat skeletal artists as gods, blindly accepting every new mass estimate as dogma. This tier also includes ordinary folks with a casual interest in paleontology whom do not follow the criteria of peejit behavior. Their knowledge is often shallow, drawn primarily from paleo media and YouTube videos. Despite their enthusiasm, they contribute little to meaningful discussions and serve as the peasants or the general audience of the paleo community. You'll find them in every corner of the paleo community, from forums, community servers, to social media groups. The Great Filter, the elitist gatekeeping barrier. The Great Filter, a subtle yet formidable barrier, is enforced by paleo elitist zealots acting as self-appointed gatekeepers. They dictate which information gains prominence, prioritizing skeletal reconstructions, mass estimates, and so-called objective data. Meanwhile, they withhold broader subjects such as anatomy, behavior, biomechanics, ecology, etc. from the public. This control restricts deeper academic insights, leaving casual members like the peejits with only surface-level facts to engage with. This gatekeeping narrows the paleo community's focus, staggers diverse discussions, and fosters exclusivity, often creating an echo chamber that filters out people or perspectives the gatekeepers dislike. Unlike a physical wall, this barrier is intangible, rooted in my anecdotal experiences and patterns observed across sub-communities. The less educated segment of the community tends to lean toward humor that can be offensive, while the academic faction may swiftly exclude those who crack unapproved jokes or hold even slightly divergent political views. I understand the nature of gatekeeping, but it has no place in scientific fields, especially one still in its infancy, such as slow progress in research and improper descriptions. Like you see on ornithischian dinosaurs, especially their postcranial elements, which often lack well-preserved scientific figures. Only the skull tends to be described as to rest of the preserved body, which is why skeletal reconstructions of them are less common compared to Saurischian dinosaurs. Mid-tier, paleo artists or other hobbyists. Most hobbyist paleo artists occupy this tier. These individuals create reconstructions or paleo art primarily for enjoyment and research. Some are apolitical or prefer to keep their personal opinions private, enabling them to bypass the elitist gatekeeping barrier due to merit. Their work garners respect within the community as long as they avoid challenging established norms or political opinions disliked by the elite. Although uncommon, they can be seen in every aspect of the paleo community, though less commonly, and some avoid larger or public communities due to annoyance from peejits. Now we're getting into elitist territory. The higher in the tier, the more aggressively politically motivated and extremist views. Upper mid-tier zealots, foot soldiers of the paleo matrix. Occupying this tier, zealots delve into gatekept topics of paleontology, as well other discussions that aren't, mega theropods, their size estimates, etc. So basically stuff that the peejits cannot comprehend. So real paleontology. They elevate paleo discourse beyond science to serve their own political agendas. These elitists aggressively promote left-wing narratives, attacking anyone who deviates from their correct worldviews. Acting as foot soldiers, they silence dissent and ensure only approved perspectives dominate public paleo spaces on behalf of their influential leaders. They mostly appear in the paleo Twitter community, paleo stream, or other gate-kept academic hive mind communities, also rare in public communities. Mostly reside on natural history channels where they correct content and shape approved narratives. And they tend to gossip in their gate-kept circle jerks when something goes against their behalf. High tier, the Paleo elite, academic gatekeepers and influencers. This tier represents the elite of paleontology, esteemed academics, professors, paleo artists, and influential community figures such as YouTubers, science communicators, X, formerly Twitter, influencers, and moderators of exclusive or tightly controlled paleo communities. They hold immense power over academic journals, online platforms, and public discourse, deciding which theories and paleo memes rise to prominence. Wielding their influence, they orchestrate cancel culture through a loyal following of zealots to silence dissenting voices. As moderators, they tightly regulate discussions, determining who is deemed worthy of participating in the field. While less visible in public-facing paleo communities compared to zealots or hobbyists, their presence looms large in academic circles. Often they serve as key contributors, staff, or developers for paleo-related projects and communities, acting as proxies for the shadowy paleo cabal. And lastly, in the top of the list, top tier, Big Paleo, the Paleo Matrix. Big Paleo is a mysterious, loosely organized group rumored to control paleontological discussions from the shadows, operating at the pinnacle of the field. Made up of carefully chosen academic gatekeepers and moderators, elite paleo intellectuals, they form the core of the paleo community's hive mind, holding total control over its direction to push their hidden left-wing agenda. Through the cathedral effect, they tighten their grip, promoting their ideology to silence opposition and enforce agreement across the community. Their goals are unclear, but they seem to control true paleontological knowledge, such as having VIP roles with special gate-kept information in their exclusive secretive groups like the Knights of Iguana, Mammalia, and the neglected Grey Skull servers, keeping the field under their strict rule, as well wielding an aura of untouchable dominance while orchestrating their paleo project and communities' proxies to gain wealth, fame, and power. Whispers hint at their deep ties to other paleo communities with connections to figures like Skiwi, who orchestrated a vendetta against me, deploying a network of proxies to deplatform and silence voices like mine. Big Paleo's influence is subtle but all-encompassing, a pervasive force steering the fate of paleontology.
As the Paleo Matrix desperately needs to hold its hive mind with an iron grip. To maintain this hive mind, it requires elimination of any competition or potential threats, although unable to reach the wastelands of Dinosauria, as it is an unsafe environment to navigate and seize control, as the elitist's emotions are too weak to survive in these conditions. So instead, they leave the dirty work to the super peejits, a hand-picked of elevated peejits to try to task with dominating external parts of the community. As we know, there are 4 of them currently known, which are Curryton, the king of peejits, Skiwi, the puppet master, Super, the big black Cayman fanboy, and lastly, Mikhailodon, the self-denying peejits, are the elitists' chosen fools. And their characteristics include such as amplified delusions, fanboyism and stupidity, masterful manipulation and victimhood skills, unusual and lustful behavior.
Sticking out your diop for the Riddler. You're so stupid.
Mediocre and plagiarized artwork. Desperate craving for validation, and lastly,
Betrayal.
lolcow potential. With all this, the paleo community keeps in control of a secret oligarchy.
My spinal, look at my spinal. Boy, don't change my spinal. Why would you do that? I've got you, fist breaking spinal. But I see those little legs one time. What the heck, man? Who's my spinal?
Let's set the record straight. I don't have anything against To the Vividen. My real issue is his content, and it's time talk about it. Vividen's videos are blatant engagement farming, deliberately targeting peejits with over-the-top exaggerations to bait viewers. It's clear Vividen knows his field, his knowledge runs deep, and he's one of the few content creators who actually does his own research. But instead of exploring the rich, nuanced depths of the field, he dives headfirst into clickbait sensationalism for personal gain. His videos obsesses with heckin' big chungus creatures such as giant theropod dinosaurs and other large predators. It's all about size, spectacle, and how badass it is. How big is it? Could it survive this? Oh my science, it's Heckerino unstoppable. As he states in this clip,
blending awesome bro topics backed up by real science.
this shallow, salesy approach sacrifices substance for views, sidelining the natural and scientific depth paleontology that deserves. Worse, it feels like he's doing this in bad faith, a deliberate choice to gatekeep the field by pandering to peejits instead of elevating the discourse. Even the Paleo Matrix, that shadowy hive mind, looks down on him for it, which says something. The good news? Vividen replied to my last video, liked it, and even found it funny. The bad news? He deleted his comment shortly after. Curryton, the king of peejits, whined like a little child, and with his obsession for mass estimates and trivial drivel, couldn't handle my influence spreading, so him and his mods pressured him. Curryton is the epitome of a peejit. He has the stupidity of a Carnivora Forums user and the insufferability of a snobby paleo nerd elitist. His life is centered to Roblox dinosaur survival games, giant megatheropods, and skeletal constructions. He pesters experts like Random Dinos, Dan Folks, and seeks validation from them. When someone called a survival game wasted potential to someone else, he raged like it was personal. I don't hate him, but Curryton is a cautionary tale. Don't be like him. Ecos La Brea is a Roblox survival game set in Pleistocene, California, specifically prehistoric Los Angeles, where players control creatures like dire wolves, western horses, Smilodon, and ancient bison. No mammoths, mastodons, or ground sloths yet, sadly. Marketed as a fresh sister project to Cenozoic survival, this new game became the developers' main focus, leading them to abandon the original game's development. Cenozoic survival was left abandoned, and the latest version as the testing version, where it is locked behind a paywall despite already having undergone a recode. But don't be fooled, it's still the very same Scummy team that I made an expose video on, where I uncovered disturbing truths about the leadership behind the project. For example, the co-owner, PaleoSD, betrayed me after unbanning me from the server, doing so on behalf of Skiwi, the very same person who originally got me banned. Ironically, he was the one who actually broke the rules. When he saw I had returned, he became extremely furious and retaliated by weaponizing the entire staff team along with their friends as his personal army all against me. This escalated into a coordinated harassment campaign aimed at deplatforming and demonizing me across multiple communities, all fueled by lies and a deeply personal grudge. In the process, I exposed their corruption, laziness, hypocrisy, double standards, and reliance on forced political messaging, failings that ultimately led to their fallout and rebranding. During this transition, they quietly purged overt political announcements, as well wiped channels that contained dirt on them, brought in more academic and elite figures from the Paleo community to promote the game, and shockingly secured backing from the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. Yes, an actual museum institution is now supporting a Roblox game developed by this same group. At this point, it's clear, this isn't just a grassroots project. It's been artificially propped up and strategically positioned. It's a textbook example of an industry plant. Oh, this gets even further. The owner, Charlie Goji, also known as Zach, encouraged a minor to draw explicit furry content, a gross ethical violation. I missed it out, as well regret not mentioning it in my last video. The co-owner, Paleo SD, who is of American, half-Danish, and Israeli descent, has shown an unsettling interest in lowly content and has even made comments suggesting infanticide tendencies. On top of that, he recently made more racist remarks toward white people, a deeply hypocritical twist considering his own background. His comments sparked controversy and ridicule outside their echo chamber of a server until eventually someone from their team stepped in to defend his actions rather than address the concerns or take any accountability. Let's take a look.
Fine addition to my collection.
This is clearly satire. So is this. Try to not take everything that the internet people say at face value. There are some pretty extreme allegations. You have the evidence for this? The content video? That's nonsense! Created by a sociopath! LOL! Well, the video authenticity is invalidated by the creator. Anti-white comments, score reaction. I'm guessing you are Kester. The way you are letting him vigorously like a creepy thing, donut. Thank you. Get up now for the kind of family online which mental illness. May God have mercy on his soul. I don't know who that is. Only two of these are actually Paleo and Diddy, and he's clearly trolling. LOL. I left that server 2 years ago. Everyone a monkey, bruh. If you internalize it as a racial prejudice, that's on you. Facts! Anyways, I didn't want to get into unnecessary disco drama. Apologies if things got heated. Just defending my co-workers from false defamation. Peace. Sir?
Well, that didn't go well. Instead of actually refuting the arguments, he just resorted to logical fallacies. It's obvious they didn't even watch the last video, because it completely undermines their position. It doesn't matter how rational you are or how much evidence you present. You could have all the facts in the world and mountains of proof right in front of them. It still wouldn't matter, because in their eyes, you're Voldemort and they're Harry Potter. I criticized the game before it even launched, predicting it would flop during a discussion on a Minecraft mod server. And guess what? They heard me and tried to get me deplatformed, again, just for speaking my mind. Now, here we are. The game is still flopping. It's treated like some sacred relic, but let's be real, no one in the actual Paleo community plays it. It's mostly just furry gooner tourists. At this point, it's not even about the game itself. It's just manufactured hype to make something seem relevant when it's not. So, is this really just a schizo conspiracy theory? Or is the Paleo Cabal actually trying to silence me in behalf of a Roblox game made by pedophiles with interconnections with them? Now, the real question is, where did I got all this bad reputation and trouble in the first place? 5 years ago, it all started when I said pornography is harmful and controlled by a monopoly of two people. That single statement got me kicked out of every community I was part of. These lunatics went after me hard, and believe it or not, they're still holding that grudge today. Since then, I've been dragged back into drama after drama, from pedophile sympathizing developers to Skiwi and his goons, all because I just want to enjoy my hobby in peace. I've had to deal with constant attacks and attempts to silence me simply because I exist. But I am not alone, and I will not give up for the things I love to do. I will not bow down to the Paleo Matrix.
Farewell. My name is Mahamba Crocodile. I am a former member of the Knights of Iguana, the very same group that opposes my longtime friend, Kester. I once held the third highest role just below the Grey Skull rank, formerly known as the Knight of Charles, where I served as a guard on their humiliation channel called the Tartarus. I was there solely to gain knowledge about crocodilians and their relatives. For a time, I was joined by my friend Metasukus, who creates remarkable crocodilian reconstructions and possesses deep expertise in the field, as well gathers a large community from whom are interested in crocodilians. The Knights of Iguana was founded during the same period when my best friend, Kester, was stigmatized in the Paleo community. The group essentially operates as a replacement of the Grey Skull servers, a secretive hub of Paleo Matrix control. Kester only learned of their server because I warned him they were spying on his activities, just as he was preparing to expose Cenozoic Survival Echo's former project. We chilled there until Metasukus was banned due to Super. As you know, that big black Cayman fanboy played the victim and framed him as an Andrew Tate fanboy to the Koi mods, despite Metasukus openly disavowing Tate and debunking Super's absurd claims about a giant black caiman. A month later, Super himself was banned for making derogatory remarks about native Brazilians, exposing his own hypocrisy in a classic Paleo Matrix backfire, which this all why they demonize people who are interested in crocodilians. Then a week later I got banned in Koi, mostly likely from random Paleo nerd, as he was promoted to Grayskull exactly that time I got banned there. Pretty much all of us who manage the Crocodilia server is banned in Koi. Last one is Lamborlabator got banned few months ago by literally doing nothing, likely because of his associations with us, which is stupid.
Let's dive into the Pharisees of the Paleo community. My experience infiltrating the Knights of Iguana, aka Koi, using an undercover account. As Mahamba informed us, this is the Paleo Matrix's inner sanctum, run by oligarchs of the paleontological community. Think of it as the Jedi Temple of Paleo community, an elite fortress of knowledge, but overconfident, corrupt, and rotten at its core. The Koi holds a treasure trove of information you won't find in scientific literature or from experienced individuals familiar in the field. It's a hub where academics like Scott Hartman and Olaf Mollman, who redescribed Irritator's skull and jaws, resides alongside alongside other researchers who've published in the field. But don't be fooled, Koi is a cesspool of elitism. The server is bloated with left-wing political rants and venting, essentially part giant circle jerk echo chamber and part gate-kept knowledge discussions.
About what you said on the forced political narrative of that server, they have rules against political talk. However, the amount of hypocrisy is staggering. They bend those rules with double standards, letting their favored members spew unchecked. If I expressed even the slightest contradictory views on that server, I would have been kicked out immediately. If that's not enough, one higher-up even celebrated the death of Brian Barzik, a beloved herpetologist and a YouTuber passed away after battling pancreatic cancer, showing their callous disregard for decency. It's a hermit kingdom. No one enters or leaves without their approval, a sealed fortress where the Paleo Cabal's oligarchs hoard power and knowledge.
Indeed, they are quite vile, unreasonable, and irrational. Want to hear how these Pharisees of the Paleo community treat their former respected members? Like garbage. They'll deplatform you everywhere in their circles, shun and demonize you, try to get you doxxed, fired, and even push you out of academia entirely. Take 7 Shots, an independent researcher. He was authorized to measure material thought to belong to Sarphaganax maximus, a dinosaur later deemed a dubious chimera of Allosaurus and sauropod bones. And this was before the paper re-examining Sarphaganax was even published. The Cole elitists framed 7 Shots as a fraud, smearing his reputation. Without his contributions, we wouldn't have Lamberlabator's skeletal nor the Vividen video on this currently invalid theropod dinosaur. Then there's Sutton, a former worker for the Forgotten Bloodlines. Agate, as well a former moderator for the Carnivores modding server, was banned over personal disagreements. His crimes: expressing opinions on sex work and voting for Trump, views that enraged the Koi's echo chamber. Sutton also leaked skin impressions of the Wyrex specimen, a move that could have exposed more of the Matrix's embargoed secrets. The Agate's team disavowed him. As well, he was banned on the Carnivores modding server, but if Sutton had wanted, he could have unleashed devastating leaks to shake the Paleo Cabal to its core, but later he got doxxed by Skiwi.
Keter, elaborate more about Skiwi getting in part of the Paleo Cabal.
Skiwi joined Koi about a month before Metasuchus was banned, and his presence marked a turning point for the worse. At the time, the server was thriving. But Skiwi's behavior shifted immature and unproductive interactions. He lacked knowledge of paleontology and seek validation by aligning himself with others. This was at the time where he was being rejected by former friends. Over that fact, he spread lies about me and others, including false claims related to the game, Era of Terror. He pretty much turned to the server into just brain rot, how bad it came. They had to make 2 separate general channels, one for talking about the field and one for brain rot circle jerk.
Speaking of that, before he joined that server, they had a thread channel in the general dedicated to circle jerk behavior that specifically shit-talked a lot about arsonites and Z-Boomer. Go ahead, Keter, explain about the arsonites and Z-Boomer.
The term arsonites, named after a paleontology content creator, Arsene, aka AK Rex, describes a loose group of dissidents within the paleo community who reject modern paleontological findings, such as feathered dinosaurs, the presence of lips on most dinosaurs, and that birds descent from theropod dinosaurs. This group was particularly vocal during the mid to late 2010s, a period marked by heightened interest in paleontology, notably around the time where there was hype on Saurian, Prehistoric Kingdom, and the Isle, and where paleo art were trying to make dinosaurs look like fluffy testicle aliens because speculative, but their downfall lead from denying the amount of irrefutable evidence against them, so they were viewed them as stubborn and ignorant. Since since most of them are just being Jurassic Park fanboys. So they were overwhelmed by the intellectual superiority of the Paleo Cabal. The only thing they were right is that most dinosaurs were still scaly. Tyrannosaurus rex was mostly covered with scales, perhaps very sparse amount of feathers, despite feathered early relatives like Dolong and Eutyrannus. So those paleo art that make dinosaurs look like flesh abominations aged like milk. Now I'd introduce Z-Boomer, one of the infamous figures in the paleo community, an anomaly who makes outrageous reconstructions defy scientific reason. His depictions of dinosaurs or any prehistoric animals resemble meth addicts. David Peters has some serious competition now. Z-Boomer is notorious for crafting essay-long arguments so self-contradictory they collapse under their own weight, leaving everyone bewildered. His controversial views span from personal tastes in prehistoric and kaiju media, the field of paleontology, and even real-world politics. Like me, he's been painted as a villain, banned in most communities, as well earning labels such as bigoted or even neo-newt-Z from Paleo Elitists, accusations often used to keep the community in line. His behavior doesn't help. Z-Boomer's extreme contrarian nature means he trusts no one. Even the Arsonites, a group he strongly supported, kicked him out. His reckless antics and defiance stir constant trouble. He's also a massive gooner, judging by his Twitter followings of dozens of furry porn artists, and of course this drawing of an Ankylosaurus armored schlong. Makes sense why he is accused of being a zoophile. Z-Boomer is no saint, as his only closest friend initially bonded over shared attacks from the Ecos La Brea staff and associates, which went by Cenozoic survival back then. Now he's accusing me of associating with groomers, citing a screenshot that's clearly satire. Ironically, he's admitted to finding it acceptable to goon to sexualize drawings of children, which led to his downfall and loss of relevance. So, what's his next move? Grifting, of course, by calling himself the CEO of wokeness in a desperate attempt to redeem himself despite all the damage he's caused with his words and actions.
Pretty bold move analyzing that creep. Most paleo nerds would just block him and stay quiet, but he blocked you first. Shows you've got more aura than him. Speaking of creeps, don't get me started about the discrepancies of age demographic in the field where people ranging to their 20s to 40s hang out with literal young teens, where sometimes they act too inappropriate with them. This dynamic has become a problem, as seen in PaleoStream server with older individuals have a lot of influences and sense of authority on impressionable minors. I'm not saying you can't interact with younger people, but there are creeps and groomers everywhere just to exploit vulnerable individuals. I know someone who left our server after we tried to help him explore his identity through good faith discussions. At just 13 years old, he was later groomed by people over 20 from Koi. This same crybully got my friend silenced for criticizing a Roblox animal game with deep connections to the elite, shadowy corners of the paleo community. It shows how easily minors can be manipulated in these online spaces, where older people use their knowledge and talents to influence vulnerable minors online, often leading them into potentially harmful paths, revealing how the Paleo Cabal manipulates people into submission.
Thank you so much, Mahamba, for speaking. Now, I'd start with informing anyone to spot an paleo elitist while engaged in the community by knowing their brimstone Reddit humor as their coded language. I'd start with the nature dog. This is a forced meme created by random paleo nerd. It is a picture of a toy poodle. It normally used when the word nature is mentioned. Sometimes that dog is compared or referred to extinct carnivorans, Borophagus or Xenosmilus. There is an opposite version of this called Industry, which is basically a cyborg version of the nature dog, and its enemies are the Titanic, which is the terror bird, Titanus, and its arch nemesis, Death, which eventually defeated it. The last stegosaur. This meme is simply a X URL containing an image of fragmented stegosaur remains from the early Cretaceous Mongolia. The only thing why it was funny, because it was being reposted over and over in that server as well, dementia jokes from it. Despite the name, it is unlikely this is last stegosaur, as we have more stegosaur fossils younger than this, and perhaps they might be at the late of Cretaceous, even possible at the end of that period in India. And lastly, must refers to a periodic state of heightened aggression and hormonal activity in male elephants, marked by increased testosterone and temporal gland secretions, often leading to unpredictable behavior, and this often paired with Edmontosaurus because of herbijits, which are peejits obsessed with Edmontosaurus beating Tyrannosaurus because mass. Ironic for a meme promoting toxic masculinity from Reddit soyboy midwits. I want to discuss the Paleo stream leading figure and their art. Petite Paleoartist, also known as Soria zoacilis, Paleoartist, and NB, referred to here as Petite, has caught my attention. I've caught this artist tracing. Although their sketch of a Triceratops from a perspective view appears wholesome, my knowledge of ceratopsians suggests it's blatantly traced from Mark Witten's work. Both pieces are based on the same specimen, USMN 2100, and the proportions, such as the eye placement, orbital horns, and nasal horn, align closely. Despite Petite's attempts to alter details like the amount of keratin on the horns and beak, the soft tissue, and the jaw's articulation to make it more open, the similarities are striking. The smoking gun is the missing middle epicipital, the central frill spike, which mirrors Witten's artistic error. All Triceratops specimens possess this feature, rare among ceratopsids. Furthermore, Petite never credited Witten nor acknowledged that the work was traced. Now, Joshua Knuppe, the head of Paleo Stream, I've identified 3 cases that could be considered plagiarism. First, the most recent Raptor X drawing looks very similar to the model from the Chicago Museum. The feather arrangement, lips, angle, and color are strikingly alike, though there are noticeable differences. It's likely he used this as inspiration and glanced at it as a reference rather than tracing it. Second, his Tyrannosaurus appears to be traced from Chris Glenn's Peck Rex illustration. The similar angle and head suggest tracing, though Glenn's work includes only a head, while Knuppe's extends to nearly the whole body, as if it's an extended version. Differences exist, as Knuppe based his on a different specimen, Scotty. Additionally, Knuppe streams his prehistoric animal drawings live, so it's hard to judge definitively. The third one is seen on the Diabolotherium sloth scene, which is obviously and shamelessly traced off from a condor photograph, where he didn't credit the original photographer. However, much of his artwork seems to reference or draw from popular historical works, and he should be more transparent about this. I used to admire Lancian Idolatry, one of my favorite paleo artists. I commissioned him twice, first for a Nemegtomaya, then a Parksosaurus, for $70 instead of over $100. A good discount he offered before posting the official prices of his commissions. But he ghosted me during the second commission after seeing this little bastard got me banned about what I already showed you before. I suspect he tried to exit scam me by delaying the Parksosaurus skeletal, barely responding to my DMs. His excuses were weak as he claimed he was busy despite him completing other artwork over my commission in that time frame. It took him 3 months to finish it. He never bothered to post it in public. He ignored my third commission request, acting like he was done with me. After our first commission, he blocked me on X for no reason, which stung so much that I deleted my X account. His overly polite tone felt fake, and his dismissal of my work hinted at betrayal. We both grew suspicious of each other. I joined their Coal Cult Minecraft server, just simply try to contact him for the third commission, and found him trashing me on Discord Discord, calling me Kester instead of my alias Kellet-ensis, a red flag since he barely knew me. I'd used a new alias for 2 years to avoid Kester Tank, an alias literally Voldemort of this community. So, Lancian Idolatry blew my cover, likely sharing my transactions details to the Cole Cult, hence knowing me exactly, effectively doxing me in secret. Despite my kindness, he attacked me in-game, showing loyalty to Skiwi. I destroyed Skiwi's Minecraft hut as a litmus test to see how much he was pulling the strings, confirming Lancian's betrayal. I once helped Lancian against Z-Boomer, which, looking back, makes no sense. When we tried to talk, trapped in Obsidian, Lancian stayed silent, letting Skiwi do all the talking, while I waited for answers until the server disconnected. Lancian's treacherous and quiet behavior, never mentioning me, keeping his suspicion hidden. I trusted him because he wasn't like the rest, constantly venting far-left politics. Instead, he dove deep into paleontology with detail. If he had the balls, he could have negotiated to end this pointless drama and let us coexist in peace. But that'll never happen. Their cult lacks the honesty and reason to even try. I also debated him on Paleo Stream Reference Emporium about skeletals as primary references. He argued anatomy refs should come first, with skeletals secondary. A flawed view, skeletals visualize fossil evidence, offering reliable measurements for paleo artists. His stance is like valuing a historian's story over artifacts. Skeletals aren't perfect. Scaling varies, and new remains can outdated them. But they're the best tool for proportions, unlike speculative anatomy refs. Dan Folks backed me, but Lancian privately complained to mods, and I was banned without reason, let alone the mods, were too afraid to admit who did it. Lancian's crocodilian skeletals have errors, like using crocodile osteoderms on alligator and gavialoids relatives. We pointed it out. He ignored us. His work often becomes outdated fast, and he admits to eyeballing scale bars, not reading data. He's skilled, but resists the rigor skeletals demand. Paleontology's gatekeeping worsens this. Peejits rely on skeletals due to restricted fossil access. Kinda sad what all this has resulted in. It reveals how Skiwi, the puppet master, pulls the strings in the paleo community, orchestrating control behind the scenes.
Your regime is over! The Paleo Cabal's vicious campaign against me reveals their pathetic, desperate obsession with control and censorship, fueling my rage to shatter their rotten hive mind. They can't reason or debate, even with all the facts laid bare. These cowards won't leave me alone, banning me from their servers, slapping labels on me, and doxing my identity, then shamelessly accusing me of their own sins. They hunt me relentlessly. Not for wrongdoing, but because I'm the bane of their fragile dominance, a direct threat to their elitist control. To the Paleo Cabal, I totally alienate them. I match or surpass their knowledge, but I'm no cult member. My outsider thinking shatters their delusional hive mind to pieces. They brand anyone who disagrees an anti-science arsenite. They slander me as an unstable crank with barbaric delusions, harassing me at every turn. Just because I'm a chud autist who knows too much about prehistoric animals beyond their control. The Paleo Cabal's paranoia is unhinged. They'll ban anyone tied to me, friend, ally, or just someone daring to engage. No questions, just summary execution for their desperate blackmail. Their yeast versus them mentality fuels their narratives, driving many to flee Twitter for blue sky over hate for the new owner, unable to coexist. Worse, left-wing political rot has infected the field, warping science into an ideological blade, not a quest for truths. If you dare challenge the Paleo Cabal, you're branded against the science, yet they cling to pseudoscience like infinite genders or deny genetic differences across human populations. Their left-wing agenda is strangling paleontology's public reach and growth. They whine about issues they created, the real cause of inaccurate dinosaur depictions. For decades, they've preached scientific accuracy to the public and barely succeeded because they are the true obstacle crippling this field. The Paleo Cabal Elitists don't give a damn about you, but I do. I fight to make paleontology ours for everyone. They've tried everything to erase me and my allies, but I'm still here, standing unfazed. Now I'll build a new decentralized paleo community free from the tyranny of the Cabal and their ties to my nemesis, Skiwi, and their far-left agenda. Every purge, every smear only fuels our fire. Let their hive minds' tyrannical roots crumble under their own elitist isolation. A new generation will rise, ushering in an era where we reclaim paleontology for ourselves. The best kind of victory is the victory with the truth.
This is Kester Tank. Thank you for all watching this video. And for those long-time viewers, I thank you a lot for supporting me and siding with me through all these years. It's been really rough and tough, but I'm still standing here very strong. Thank you. This is my last Truth About video I will make. And possibly the last drama related video. I'd be taking a big fat break, since this shit has been a complete huge bombshell. This is one of the biggest videos I made. Thank you. This is SkeeterTube. Goodbye.